Good morning. This is Coffee with the Summerland Kids. This is episode 111, 111. September 9th. I got my notes on the coffee cup here. It's currently 70 degrees in Summerland, California, with a high of 90 today. So it's 2024, and it's 90 degrees in Summerland, and it's September. So, wow. That's I don't know if it's breaking any records or not, but that's a warm day for those guys.
Yeah, they're definitely getting some heat down on the Central Coast. I know my friend there in Grover Beach called and said, "Oh, it's 88 degrees
Wow.
in Grover Beach," which is a
Uh-huh.
rarity.
Yeah,
That's a hot one.
that's a hot one for sure.
We're still getting a little bit over 100. Even my friend that comes over and helps me out, he was like, "Oh, I can't wait for this heat to be over."
Yeah,
Normally, he's like, "Oh, I can handle the heat." He's just out there.
right.
Um, but July and August you kind of expect it, but in September you're hoping
Starts to taper.
it cools
Yeah,
off a bit,
I think
But
it's I thought I heard something about 40 degrees. It feels like it might be 50 something right now here. It's I got my jacket on. It's actually uh I could pull it off without it, but it's definitely like brisk out here right now. Nice brisk. Um I guess it's autumn now, right? Leaves are starting to change colors a little bit in some of the trees. Um I wish we had. There is some aspens here for sure, but the aspens are notorious for changing color and being amazing. But it's not like quote unquote Aspen, Colorado, where they have like an abundance of aspen trees. And then also up where you're at too. When I drove through Auburn, it was freaking amazing this time of year. Auburn is like, I think it's that color. Auburn is like that traditional color, and then Nevada City, they get those color changes up there. It's pretty beautiful up there, actually.
yeah, it's nice. I love how the seasons change. And in the spring everything's bright green. Because the rain from the
Yeah,
season, and then it starts getting sunny. All the grasses come out, and then by summer everything's golden brown, and all the grasses are kind of drying up, and then this time of year all the trees start changing. I
yeah,
really love the autumn. I,
yeah.
I guess I love every season though
Right.
too,
I
technically.
know I'm the same way. I guess. I what is it? Prayers for those up in with a Crestline, California right now. They're having a pretty big fire. I think it might be San Bernardino County, like maybe it could be somewhat near Big Bear area. It's definitely, it would say south of LA, up in the hills. They got some sort of. They said there was some a little bit of rain, a little bit of lightning, but they were afraid that was going to start another fire. I'm not sure how the fire started, but it was one of my friends was reporting in. Shout out to Michael Carrier. He's out in that area, and he said he's never. I don't. He may have had to evacuate before. He has a maybe a cabin up in the woods somewhere around there, and so they're being watchful. And some people have been evacuated from their homes. So the fires continue to kind of like be a thing in California right now. So that's for those Southern California people. It's something that you have to deal with. I guess just one of those facts of life: earthquakes, fires. There's not so much hurricanes or tornadoes or like Texas and Kansas and those other states have to deal with their own natural disasters of sorts. But California's an interesting place. I remember, I think perhaps I was living with my buddies when the Northridge quake happened. That might have been around 1994, if I semi remember correctly. But it was pretty. We were in Summerland at the old Victorian house, and that thing shook it, man. Like I just remember one of my buddies being like hanging from the rafters, like naked or something. Just like, woo! Like it was something hilarious. Like, because it definitely was. It woke all of us up in the big old house because we had 7 guys living together in this big old, almost like 3-story Victorian house. So it shook us out of our bedrooms out into the common areas going, whoa, dude, And I think that's the one that took that one bridge out there by on the way to Palmdale, Lancaster. There's like the 5 freeway has a bunch of intersects out there, and one of them collapsed in that Northridge quake. So, you know, whatever, shake and bake California, so to speak.
Yeah, we got the earthquakes, and there is everyone thinks, okay, California, and they look it on the map, and it's a big looking place, compared to
Yeah,
some other states. And people think, oh, San Francisco, LA, San Diego, but there's a lot of wilderness. There's a lot of forest area. There's a lot of open space, and
for
um,
sure.
yeah, it catches
Yeah.
on fire. It does. I know that some years are worse than others. This year, I think, was a little bit worse than
Uh,
average, as far as fires. And I think, that has to do with, like, we had a pretty good rain year last year. And so all the vegetation grows.
yeah.
And then it all, dries up in the summer.
Right.
And, we get the high, I don't know if you guys got the little Smoky Bear sign that says
Oh, definitely. Right.
fire, uh,
Totally.
you know,
Right in downtown. It's like one of the
and
classic
so they've
things.
been pinned up on the
Yeah.
red.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so it's the real deal, especially in California. And sometimes they have those fire roads cut in some cases, but sometimes places are pretty desolate and what do you call it, inaccessible except by aircraft. To they were saying in California right now, that Crestline area fire, they were saying they were just trying to protect the homes, making that a priority, and not so much the desolate wilderness that's burning. They were just maybe staked out nearby the homes to try to protect the homes. So I'm sure the homeowners feel good about that. That that their priorities are high on the saving their homes versus um, you know working out there in the boondocks of the wilderness. But man, it's wild these days. You think that they could get things under control quickly with the amount of technology and aircraft. But I don't know what kind of fleet or where those fleets are hanging out when they're not in operation. I imagine LAX has to have some sort of little squadron, if that's what they're called, of fire protection aircraft. I know Santa Barbara Airport probably has a few of their own. I'd imagine a few helicopters slash water dropping type vehicle planes to work on that, because we have an abundance of wilderness around Santa Barbara for sure. And that one fire that came through years ago, that after the fire caused the mudslides, that fire burned from, like, man, it was like out there past Ventura, south of Ventura, and it burned from Ventura all the way up to Santa Barbara, I believe. So it's amazing how fast fire can travel and burn the entire mountain across the whole across our what essentially is our view, burning our background mountains. So anyways.
Well, yeah, I mean it travels as fast as the
Yeah,
wind, because those sparks and the flames
for
ride
sure.
on the wind, and all it takes is a couple little embers landing on a dry field, and the next field is
Yeah.
right around the corner, and we're talking how much wilderness and open space and forest area there is. Really
Yeah.
does, it. I looked at the map when we were having the fire up here, and so I'm looking at the little fire map. It's got like a little California, I think it's national, but I was kind of
Uh-huh.
focused on California, and just all the little fires, here and there. It looks like the whole state's on fire sometimes. It's like, wow, dude,
Yeah,
is
I
that
know.
the whole state's on fire? And we get it every, the smell. You kind of get used to the smell of smoke in the air. Um, I guess there's been several fires, in the vicinity. As far as there was the Creek Fire in Chico, which was pretty
Okay.
close. They burned pretty big, 3 counties.
Wow.
The Thomas Fire up here that you know had some people in Orville evacuating, Palermo, and just it seemed like every other day there's another fire.
Yeah.
You know, and all you can really hope is that your homestead and your home doesn't burn down.
Yeah.
It's scary, because my dad's house burnt down. I mean, after he
Oh
passed,
wow.
I guess it was his widow's house. So that's
Okay.
over there in Clear Lake.
Oh wow.
And then my auntie's house burnt down. And so up there in Paradise, the uncles and
Oh
the
shoot. Oh
and
wow.
then my friend up here, just up here in the mountains, about maybe 30 minutes away, his property got burnt through twice. So he had a
Oh my
mobile home
God.
up there, a modular home or whatever, and
Yeah.
maybe 10 years ago that one burnt down. And then so he
Jeez.
brought a camper or whatever out there, and then that one burnt down. And it's like,
Oh my God.
what can you do? It's such a you don't want to always be in the city, of course.
Yeah.
A lot of people do enjoy the city, but
Yeah.
some people don't. So you go out to the
Yeah.
outskirts, you go out to the mountains a little bit,
Right.
and you got to deal with fire because there
Yeah.
isn't that population density, and the equipment and the water. I mean, people think about water, you go turn on the faucet and hook up to the fire hydrant here. But if you're out there in the wilderness, you need a big tanker helicopter or a big tanker plane to go however many miles and scoop up water from whatever reservoir or access and then fly over and dump it. And the vastness and the size of the fires, I just, woo,
I know,
I'm
right?
lucky, I've been, I've never really been super threatened by fires, but I've had my fair share of seeing them. In
Yeah.
San Luis Obispo when we were, I guess I was about in high school. There was a big fire, and we were just going somewhere one day, and we look over, and oh my gosh, this whole side of the mountain's on fire right next to the freeway, right?
Wow.
And it's wow, that's right there. And then we got to our destination, which was up north a little bit over the hill, and then on our way back, it's like, oh, you can't go this way, you have to go the alternative route because they had the roads shut down. The main freeway, Highway 101, was shut down.
Oh
So
wow.
it's like it doesn't take long.
No.
You're going on a day trip, you're going up somewhere, and you're like, everything's fine and dandy, and oh, there's a fire, and then the next thing you know, oh, the roads are shut down. There's a huge fire. It's on the news, and they, whew.
I know. It's incredible. I had a friend who was, I think it may have been well, somewhere near Painted Cave. It was definitely just right behind Santa Barbara, and he said he narrowly escaped in his little. He held on for as long as he could. I don't know what he was doing up there. Probably just like running around like a chicken with his head cut off, going like, okay, what do I need to get with me? What do I need to grab? The animals, the cat, the dog, all that stuff. And like he managed to escape, but it was like one of those narrow escapes that he said that the fire was all around him, and he was in his truck, and just hoping that the truck would start and all that stuff, and then driving down the road, which I'm like sometimes surprised like how you can even see the road. Sometimes you see these first responder videos of the driver going down a smoky road with fire on both sides. It's like, holy smokes. I mean, that's literally
Literally,
like,
holy
yeah,
smokes.
holy smokes. You're just barely, escaping your being burned to a crisp yourself, or your tires melting off, so to speak. Um, so that's, the harrowing stories of people making it out. And then sometimes they actually have to let the horses go free. The horses know what to do. They just run, run, run. But if they're trapped in a freaking barn or in a stable, they're screwed. So I guess the best thing you can do is try to let everybody go free to run on their own to get away from it. That would probably be
Yeah,
the thing.
that's a big thing.
Yeah.
I know I was looking at the news when the fire was around here. They had the animal refuge,
Okay.
and then they had a large animal refuge, right? So
Wow.
they did have a spot, where people had the opportunity to trailer their horses and get them out of the fire. Obviously, if
Yeah.
living out on a ranch, out kind of in the country, up in the mountains a bit, you got plenty of room for horses. But if
Yeah.
you got to evacuate from your home and bring your large animals, your horses, your goats, or whatever, and you're in the city, where do you store your horses? Where do you house your horses and your sheeps and your goats in the city? It's kind of a trick question because there's
Yeah.
not really much space for a horse. There's not a
Right.
bunch of horse stables in town per se. Whereas in the country,
Exactly.
you got, if you're on 10 acres, hey, there's plenty of room for a horse.
Right. Like back in San Ynez, and when you take the train from where I'm at, coming through Arizona, you get into California. There's a lot of still like what do you call it, rural farm type folks out there on the outskirts, on the edges, and it's beautiful out there. You really kind of see um, the sprawl, and then the density starts to get more and more dense. As you come into Los Angeles. Through Riverside and those little towns, but now those towns have blown up where they're huge now. They have like massive car dealerships, massive businesses, Amazon fulfillment centers. They're just gigantic. Where those big open spaces. We saw that as kids. There was, always like a few open spaces in Summerland for sure, especially behind the town and over by the Edison Company. There was always that big, expansive area by Edison, and now there's homes up there. So they've built homes all around the Edison Company, more or less. Um, so development is, I guess, inevitable in some cases where people, the housing shortage in California, trying to house everybody. You know, there is a lot of people that, unfortunately, folks that are living on the edge, whether if they don't have an RV or that kind of capability to do that, they're on the street, and it's like super challenging for them, especially because they're relying on the services, and then of course downtown LA has a lot of services for folks of all needs. Some amazing people that are spending a lot of time volunteering and helping the people in downtown Los Angeles, especially because that's kind of like the hub of the population center of Los Angeles, I want to say. You know, so anyways, shout out to all those people that are first responders and helpers of folks in need, the Red Cross and all that stuff that help people when they're, in their time of need, so there's that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not in that dire of a situation, but I definitely take advantage of some of these resources. Food banks. That's a big
Yeah.
one. You don't realize um, how much food costs until if you sit down and do your budget and you realize, oh gosh, I'm spending a couple $100s a week on food. It's really helpful. I go to the Salvation Army. Shout out to the Salvation Army because
Yeah, big time.
that's one of their big missions is to feed people, in need.
Yeah.
And I go out there, to the Salvation at least twice or 3, 4 times a month sometimes,
Yeah.
and just getting some Dale bread. They get the Dale bread, they get the Dale
Yeah.
pastries and stuff. It's like I look at the prices on these things, and it's like, okay, 3 loaves of bread at $5 a loaf. There's $15. You add in
Yeah.
a couple cans of food, maybe a pack of meat, and it's like, gosh, that's $50 I would have spent at
Right.
the store. And when you're, I guess not wealthy, I guess
Yeah.
I'm not, on the streets, count my blessings. But at the same
Yeah.
time, to make ends meet, a little $50 worth of food a week goes a long way. I mean,
No, for
that
sure.
could be the difference between, being able to run the swamp cooler and air conditioner during the holidays, I mean, during the summer, a couple hundred
Yeah.
bucks worth of food. Now I can afford that couple $100 extra on the electricity bill so that I can, in fact, stay reasonably comfortable with the air conditioner on during the heat of the day.
Yeah,
Um,
especially.
I have to
Yeah.
stay reasonably happy, with the water bill goes up obviously in July when I'm running the garden, and
Okay.
it's nice to be able to not have to say, oh, do I do I have enough for my medicine, my medication, my requirements, or do I have to figure out a way? So a little extra help from the Salvation Army has been going a long way, and
No, that's huge. That's good. That's a
uh,
good shout out, man. Big time. Yeah, super super helpful to because I have experienced that with the going to the market and buying just a few basic things, and it's $50, for just one bag of groceries, basically. Uh, it's extreme, and I know they're talking about it on the news, but honestly, I don't know how it will level off or if they'll cap it. I think they're trying to, in terms of gas prices in California, I think they're trying to like figure out a way, whether it's the reserves or however they're kind of like shuffling the numbers around to like come to some sort of conclusion. I mean, we got gas and went down to Farmington, New Mexico again on this past weekend to go to the flea market and see what was up. And my buddy Joe's looking always for the better deal on gas, and it is I want to say 30 to 40 cents cheaper in New Mexico where we're at, as opposed to here in Pagosa. We're close to $4. It's less than $4 a gallon, put it that way. 360, 370, right around there. But I think that's far cheaper than what you guys are paying, right? Are you guys paying like, is it $5 or
I think we're definitely above $4. I think
okay, above
it's
four?
around 460, around 465 or something for the.
Okay,
I mean,
that's a
that's if
dollar
you
more than
go.
us. It just
I go to the
yeah,
reservation, so there's a couple reservations, and I
okay,
guess they have different taxes. So
yeah,
if you're in town, it
that's
may
cool.
be 485, 495 for a gallon, and then you just drive a couple miles over to the reservation, and it's 450 or 460, and that's a big difference. If you're putting even just 10 gallons of gas, that's $5 a tank,
Right,
$5 to $10 a tank extra, if you're getting
right,
it in town or not. And I guess if you're just putting a few bucks at a time, it doesn't make that big a difference. But if you fill up your tank every week, that's the difference between $70 and $100
right.
a week in gas fuel. It's
It's a
when I
lot.
was younger, I didn't really pay too much close attention. It was, oh, I want this is what it costs, whatever. But as I got older, even wherever I'm at, I will find that gas station that's got the lowest price. And there's definitely, I think in most areas, there's the option of get the one downtown that's easy, convenient, on the way, right off the freeway. And then
Yeah,
there's that gas station, if you just know where to go or look it up on an app or whatever. It's like, oh, that's only 2 miles out of the way, but it's 12 cents or 20 cents a gallon cheaper. So if you're getting, a $5 savings on every tank of gas, it definitely adds up, especially if
oh,
you're
big time.
going through maybe a tank of gas a week, which I'm sure a lot of people do commuting to work or having a
Yeah,
work vehicle.
right.
A lot of Uber drivers and, Lyft delivery drivers and food
Yeah,
drivers and Amazon drivers are running their own vehicles. And so,
right.
I'm sure they make a decent pay and it's all compensated and figured as far as like gas and time. But, honestly, this if you could save $20 a week on your expenses, that adds up. it may only be a
No, for
hundred
sure.
dollars a month, but if you look at that on the year, that's $1,200 if you're saving $100. $1,200, that's a considerable amount of money. You can
It
do a lot
is.
with $1,200. Why just spend it on the extra cost of gas?
I know, right? Yeah, that's a big factor. I mean, it's wild how the times have they've changed so much, but like what is it? The labor rates. They're trying to get labor rates up, and I know California's made a big boost with the fast food labor rates, bringing those people up to 20. I think where the major chain fast food restaurants are paying 20 um, in California, and but the other ones that are the smaller independents are not. They're able to be a little less. But anyways,
Yeah, that was
um,
like a big thing on
you
the
know,
news for a while there. It's like, I
yeah,
guess the governor here in California had a buddy or whatever, a friend that does Panera sandwiches or whatever, one of these sandwiches stops. And so they're like, oh, it's $20 an hour for McDonald's, but this place is a bakery. They don't have to pay that. And it was like a big, I don't know if people blowing it out of proportion or whatever,
Right.
but it's crazy because I was watching this thing yesterday. It was like some weird thing about, oh, how much does it cost for food in Russia? I don't know, the craziest things I watch on the YouTube, and they're going on about how, okay, it's like twice as much basically for food in America.
Over there.
But then they're going like, well, okay, but the average, they were comparing to like a plumber, right? They're like, oh, a plumber in Moscow or a plumber in like Los Angeles or whatever. So the expense is half as much in Russia, but believe it or not, you're getting about half as much pay. So
over there, yeah.
So it's like, I guess it's relative, because if everyone's making $100 an hour, then it's not a big deal to spend, a bit more on something. But if you're only making $20 an hour, I've been watching a few of these economic things, and it's like, oh, well, the price has gone up, but the wages have gone up. But then they do this analysis of like, well, like college costs have been really a lot hotter. It's like, oh, when you were, in the 70s or whatever, if you had a full-time job or a part-time job, you could afford college. And now you can't afford college, because, well, I guess you can, but it's a lot more expensive based on what you're earning. So, back in the 70s or whatever, $7.50 or whatever an hour was pretty good money. I'm making $12 an hour. And then you look at it nowadays and it's like, well, $12 an hour ain't really going to get you much.
No.
As far as like,
when you got to pay for an apartment, like I would think in California, the cheapest you could, you'd have to double, triple, quadruple up, have four students living in an apartment together, and they'd probably be paying like some stupid thing like $2,500 a month or something, divided by 4. It's not cheap, put it that way. For those,
yeah. Well, before I came back up from LA the last time, I was looking for, a place to live. He wanted to come in the house.
Yay.
And they were, they're bunking up 2 or 3 or 4 people in one room.
Oh my God.
So if you're looking for a place that you can afford, even $1,000 a month in LA is like difficult to find. And when you find one that's $1,000 a month, it's not just a roommate. You have literally a roommate.
Oh, right.
It's not just, I have my bedroom, they have their bedroom. It's 3 guys in this bedroom, 3 guys in that bedroom. And you even see it, I've been kind of looking around to see how to make money or whatever, try to get a little extra money going. And it's like a thing now where they have, investors are buying houses to rent out in these kind of situations, not just rent the house out. No, we're renting the rooms out. Oh no, we're not renting the rooms out. We're renting out a bed in a room with 3 other guys sharing so now instead of 4 people in a 4-bedroom house, there could be 10 or 12 people in a 4-bedroom house, each one paying $1,000.
Right.
Because you're in LA, you got to be in LA, you got to be in the city. So that same house is generating $12,000 in revenue based on $1,000 per person versus $4,000 or $5,000 if they rent it out by itself or rent out each room. And it's just kind of blowing my mind.
Yeah, I can imagine that on like if you were doing a job for a film company, and I'm just imagining like being on location somewhere, where you're almost like camping with a crew, like MASH, like the old TV show, and you have the barracks where you have the bed in the barracks. They're almost like, kind of putting you in that barracks army mentality of survival / you really want to make it? Well, you're gonna have to make it with 4 dudes in your room to pull this off until you get the big break or something, and then then you can afford your own place or something. So
Oh
Wow,
yeah,
things are not
it's
getting any
just
easier.
wild.
Yeah,
It's just
that's
you
crazy.
almost have to be a millionaire to own a house in Los Angeles anymore.
Right? No, for sure. So we can spend a couple extra minutes on the show if you want. Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean it's 30 minutes. I don't gotta go
yeah,
nowhere.
yeah. No, that's cool. So anyways, I got let's see what's up. The thinking, for the future in the now, we'll take a little break, and then jump back in. I'm thinking right now, just like October 1st, do an episode October 1st. So just take a little break from the daily right now, and
Yeah. I'm sure
yeah,
our fans and our audience will understand. And I was
yeah,
thinking about it. And it's like, well, I'm gonna keep the flow going, so
yeah.
I'm
Keep the
gonna
flow
switch over
going,
to
man.
doing like AWOL Aaron presents or
Yeah,
Speak
no, for
the
sure.
Game or something, just so I can keep the habit going.
Yeah, keep the habit going, and myself included. I just, I won't do it daily, but thanks to you. Cheers to A.W.O.L Aaron and what you do, and creating this opportunity to be daily and do our talking and all that. It's very helpful to me to be able to have come out of my shell in terms of, because social media has really changed a lot since even in the past 10 years it's changed a lot. I want to say um, it went from, I have friends who still do Instagram and of course Facebook, and they're very static as far as their imagery, just still images of person, places, or things. But some people have evolved and jumped into live chatting. Um, of course, on the ladies' end, some of the more risque ladies, of course, are doing a lot of stuff live, and that's cool. I mean, people being able to create independent, essentially jobs for themselves online. That's it's kind of like it's a big deal to be able to work remotely. um, when I was working on my grandfather's project, I look forward to getting back into that stuff. Um, I was looking at a lot of YouTube guys and gals that present themselves and talk about the comic books, and they're doing it daily. I want to say, like, they're watching the market in comic books, they're watching trends in that industry, they're talking about the comic conventions, um, they're connecting with talking about the history of comic books. So there's each subject has its own followers. I'm following I haven't seen him yet on YouTube, but I'm watching his reels. This guy Bad Chad. So shout out to Bad Chad. He does a like he's all about cars. He's kind of like me with the old cars, but he's definitely a car fabricator, and he's got a very supportive wife or a girlfriend who films him working on cars. And so he's talking about what he's doing, and he's sort of teaching a little bit. I mean, it is sort of like everyone has their own commentary as far as whether they like what he's doing or whether they are commenting negatively on, on what he's doing, because cars and car customizing has so many opinions attached to it. I guess just like everything these days. Um, but whether the comments are positive or negative, they're still comments, and so it's action happening on his page and on his reels. And then I think it goes back to his YouTube subscribers. And at some point, I think he did have a little like reality show where they did one car every 30 days, and that was his girlfriend came on live and had to explain why they had all the cars that they've worked on in one place, and she was just explaining that we got paid to build these cars, and then we had the option to buy them back, because they did do some car giveaways. They were giving away some of their custom cars on shows, and then they would offer the winner an option of cash or the car, so that way they could keep their work. So he's been, the desire on their end is to be able to sort of own their creations versus letting their creations go. So that's a big thing these days as far as content creation, is owning the content, finding a way to make money from your content creation, all that kind of stuff.
Oh
It is
yeah,
it is
yeah.
challenging, but it's a good thing to keep the mojo going, as you said. That's key to essential survival, and just being good with being live, so that's huge.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something. I look at some of these artists, and maybe they're getting a following just streaming their art making.
Yeah,
Maybe they're
I
not
know.
selling a bunch of pictures, but oh gosh, they got 100,000 fans that love to watch them make the art
Yeah,
on YouTube, and that's a income stream on its own. I was, been kind of looking into what it takes, and sometimes these viral videos get millions of views, and maybe you're only getting a tenth of a penny per view or even less. But when you got 100 million views on one video, and you got
yeah,
maybe 20 or 30 videos that are getting views, that adds up. They're getting a substantial amount of money just on views, several hundreds or even thousands or tens of thousands of dollars a month, just, because people are looking at what they're doing. And it takes a little bit of stage presence, and you got to get over the stage fright,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you got to have a certain presence in order to be online. And not
yeah,
everybody got that in spades, but it's something like you're saying, like you do it for a while, you do 111 discussions, just
yeah,
conversations, and next thing you know,
exactly.
your shoulders drop, and your
Right,
voice clears up, and you're able to speak a little bit more articulate, just by the experience. So I
for
mean,
sure.
and it's wild what people watch. I mean, there's so much content.
You're right.
It seems kind of intimidating. Oh, there's 100 million content creators or influencers, but at the same time, there really is enough room, for more people to make stuff. I
Oh,
guess
for sure. I mean,
we're
there's
on here
there's
making stuff.
yeah, exactly. I love it. The girls that do the makeup tutorials, so they're showing how they do their makeup, and whether they're a celebrity or not, if they're good at doing their makeup and doing their hair, it's all about sharing, and they're learning on their own. They're doing their research and figuring out how to create it, how to do it, how to make it look cool, because they want it. Everyone's trying to do their best job. I'm imagining, you know. And it is sort of like trial and error, like that guy Bad Chad I was telling you about. You can tell that he's failing sometimes. Like something drops and something crashes, and he's like, okay, we got to lift this up. We got to make it look right. So he's live, trying to create. He's trying to actually physically create a custom car, and welding and tack welding and bondoing and doing all these things he's got to do in order to finish the project. But he's just showing little steps along the way, and then all the folks at home that are car guys as well are watching. And since I think there's a little more freedom to YouTube creative people, and like in Restream and Twitch and all that, there's a little more freedom, a little more looseness to it. He did do a mainstream television show for a season, and there's a lot of pressure there for sure when you're with a big group and you have a production company and a camera crew and all that. So talk about having your ass on the line when you're on camera, and you got to finish this job in 30 days. So it's literally like you're almost up against sort of an impossible chore, but somehow you pull it off, and they put in the time and the hours. And thank goodness for digital now, because film was expensive back in the day. So they were really trying to get. I mean, of course, on the bigger budget stuff, they could probably run unlimited takes, but now with digital, it's definitely made the game a lot less expensive to create. So that's a big deal.
Oh yeah, just look at the editing process back in the day.
Yeah,
you literally cut it with scissors. The reel, you gotta cut this, oh cut that, and now you got the internet. You got the program on Apple or whatever, the movie creators, and you just click
yeah,
it, click here. Oh, I don't like that. Let's move it. You can't. I cut. Oops, I cut it. That's where it's cut. How are you going to put it back together? You got to do all this extra work where on the computer. You just, move the little slider bar. Oh, let's no. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely a digital has revolutionized the entertainment industry in a way,
No,
even
for
on
sure.
music. I mean, you look back in the day with the turntables, the DJs, the mixers, and the scratching
Yeah.
the records, and now look I can sample, I can mix it all together and break down the channels,
On the
guitar,
laptop.
drums, voice, add more volume on the voice, and it's just a little slider. Just touch it with even your finger,
Yeah.
touch it right there on
Yeah.
the screen.
Exactly. So yeah, that's cool too, because it's actually given the creators a chance to express themselves online and see what kind of action they can get. Starting out from square one. Some of the people are really young too. There's incredibly young content creators, and cheers to the parents that are supportive of their young kids who want to be creative and express themselves online. It's like that kid could be the future, might be an actor someday because he's already acting up online. You never know. So it just takes those steps, man, steps along the way to the creative process. So yeah, so I'm just thinking the next show, 1st of October, which I think is like a Tuesday or something. So just we'll nail that. You have a calendar there?
It's a Tuesday.
Yeah. So we'll do that for sure. Same time, same thing, and I'm gonna take a little break, and I'm gonna work on all the preparation for the winter. I did sell another thing on eBay, super cheap, but just to get the process going, and I'm gonna give that a good go. And I do miss the office, um, so it's just finding balance. It's a whole new realm for me being, kind of like at home again, I guess you could say. When COVID hit, I had to come out to Colorado, just to be like, what would you say? Be present with the parents, especially because of mom's needs. I was like, okay, she's 77. COVID hit, and I'm like, it's better off to be safe with her and be safe with family during COVID. So that was that. Cheers to whoever that was. That was cool. Little activity.
Yeah. We had I said good morning back, and someone said good morning you too. So
Nice. That's
we
awesome.
got a chatter, and
That's
that's
cool.
cool.
Totally.
I'm not super. I don't know exactly how. I mean, we did get a spam chat too. Cheap viewers, like I'm not going to pay for
Oh, right.
viewers, but
Exactly. So shout out to Restream and that whole thing, and I'm sure we'll be chatting soon, you and I. And yeah, so thank you guys
yeah,
all for
definitely keep
viewing.
in touch on the
Yeah,
regular phone. You got my
yeah,
phone
no,
number, so call
exactly.
me anytime, bro.
A.W.O.L. Aaron on YouTube, right? A.W.O.L. A.W.O.L. Aaron on
Yep.
YouTube. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So cheers, everybody. I'll stay with you after on the after show for a sec.
All right.
Have a great day.